You're listening to a Faith Matters podcast.
Welcome to Faith Matters, and we're going to head into our segment on Becoming Unoffendable with Denise. But first off, I want to do a shout out to Charlotte, Joshua and Rel, our listeners over in Australia. It's so good to have you join us. So yeah, hi. Say hello, Denise.
Hi.
There we go. And we're going to head into the blog this week that Denise has written, and we unpack these every week. Denise has her blogs on Facebook. You can find her, denise.nz. Head over to her website and scroll through there and you'll find our podcasts and all of Denise's writings and wonderings and thoughts and everything.
You probably don't want all my wonderings and thoughts. There's some pretty questionable ones.
We do actually, because that's what we're going to unpack this week. And this week it's called, your blog is called Practice Makes Progress. So often we think peace comes when our circumstances finally settle down, but what if peace actually comes when we stop fighting what we can't change? And that is kind of wrapped around your blog this week because there's some things that happened. You want to unpack it a little bit yourself, Denise, and walk us into it.
I quite like your little sentence there, that what if peace actually comes when we stop fighting what we can't change? And that makes me think of the serenity prayer. God, give me the
strength to
accept the things I can't change, the courage to change the things I
can, something like that.
Courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Oh, there we go.
Wisdom. We were talking about that on Pastor's Corner. If you didn't hear about that, you might want to listen back on the Pastor's Corner podcast, because that's what we were talking about this morning, wisdom. And now we're going to head into Denise's one, which is Practice Makes Progress. So
the peace aspect. What got me thinking about this was that last week I had quite a significant thing going on, and to the eyes of somebody looking in, I feel like they would have been saying I should be stressed, I should be freaking out about it, I should be pushing, I should be striving, I should be doing all these things. But actually the sense that I had right through the whole process, not that everything was going seamlessly and swimmingly, but regardless of what was going on, I just had this really deep peace about it. And what I realised was I had, before I even got to that point, I had actually accepted the outcome either way. If it went one way, I was going to be okay with it. If it went the other way, I was going to be okay with it. And sure, I was keen for certain things to happen, but I had already decided that even if they didn't happen, that would be okay. And I think that is partly why I had peace right through the whole process.
Now, Denise, would this be a normal process for you to have?
What? Accepting things or making decisions?
Maybe both. Yeah. Because we don't just land in this place, do we? We don't just land in this place of peace and feeling that or living out of that. And it's a journey, and we often use that word on this part of our show. You know, it's a journey, and it is, because we didn't start there. You didn't start in a place where you had peace around things when you couldn't change them.
Oh, no, I've had the absolute opposite. And because I've had the absolute opposite for so long and in so many circumstances, I have learnt what it actually takes to let things go. Because I used to, you think of that serenity prayer, the strength to accept the things I can't change. Well, I didn't used to have that strength. I used to fight them. And I was so stressed because of it. It was crazy. And so over the years, I guess I have practiced letting those things go. Sometimes, I'll tell you one thing is, actually I used to really struggle, and even in that a marriage context, I wanted things done my way, and if my husband made a decision that I didn't like, I would be so wound up about it. But at some time in my 30s, I went, sometimes when he makes a decision, it actually takes the pressure off me because it was his decision. Now, I don't go running around saying, it's his fault. He did it. But just knowing that if it doesn't work out, actually it's not on my head. And if it does work out, well, great. And just little steps like that, just little changes in the way that I thought at that time made huge differences to the way that I was able to respond. Rather than getting into attack mode and ceasing to be a team, I could actually just walk alongside and be okay with it.
Yeah, and I guess another way of reframing that is, we want to control everything. And we want
Oh, yeah.
that beautiful word.
Cut to the chase, Maree, why don't you?
I know, just hit to the bone right there. And I guess I was thinking what's wrapped around that when we want to control everything. Often fear is wrapped around that. We're afraid of if we were to let go of control, our little world would fall apart and we couldn't, bring back all the pieces and put the puzzle back. It's not going to go back the same way as we wanted it to be. So, yeah, control is a big part of fear. Being, and opposite to the peace that we were talking about. So there's the journey in between.
Yes, and so when you're trying to control things, you have an expectation of how things are going to be, and you are trying to manipulate things to fit into your expectation. So when you're doing life with people and they don't meet your expectations,
which often happens.
Yeah, I mean, have you met people? I mean, surely all the people in your world fit exactly into how you want them to do things all the time.
Always, Denise, always not.
So there is this gap that happens between our expectation and reality.
Yep.
Which is hard to stomach because we don't really like the gap.
No, we don't. We want to fill in all those gaps, Denise, because that's what control is all about, keeping everything manageable and how we want it to be. Yeah, it's an interesting one to sit in that word of control and what does that actually mean in my world. I guess if I was to think about that for myself in my younger years, control was doing everything that I wanted to do. Without really thinking of consequences or other people or how this might be even damaging another person or myself. I did things because I think my life had been so out of control, I needed to control everything so I knew exactly what was happening around me.
As I was thinking about the gap, I thought of, I don't know if you've ever been to the UK or it may be in other places as well, but they have a really good train system there and they have written everywhere or come over the loudspeaker system, mind the gap, please. And I found a picture of that mind the gap on the concrete, and I've put that as I don't know if it came out yesterday or if it'll come out tomorrow.
I saw it. It's great.
Yes, it came out yesterday. Mind the gap, please, as a little post on Facebook, because the thing with a gap, when you know it's there, when you mind the gap, you know to treat it with care because you don't want to get hurt or you don't want to lose something down there. But also, for somebody like me, I would see that, I'd go, mind the gap. Okay, so now I'm just going to step over the gap and get onto the train. But for somebody who has a fear to get from the platform into the train is huge. And I thought of it, actually, it's almost like a leap of faith, just stepping onto that train because you've got to get over the gap. And when you don't like the gap, when that gap is your focus, that consumes you, and it's terrifying to go from the platform to the train.
Yeah, I agree. It can be like that, hopping on an escalator.
Yeah, yep.
You see the one sort of stuttering at the top. I've been that person. I was like, should I go now? Should I go now? Should I go now? Everyone else just steps on and takes the risk, whereas I want to know that platform's going to open and I'm going to step onto something and not just thin air and then fall down, and hurt myself or whatever. That gap. But so what did you put? You crossed out the word gap.
I crossed out the word mind. Instead of mind the gap, I put accept. I crossed out the word
I thought
mind.
it was very clever. Accept the gap. Accept it and move forward anyway.
Yeah, because if you accept the gaps there, then you're acknowledging it. You're being safety conscious because you're not going to go down into it, and you're not going to drop something down there. You're going to be careful around it, but it's not going to hold fear over you. So when you accept that gap, it actually puts you in a really good position to deal with whatever it is that's going on, that's not meeting your expectations.
Yeah. In your blog here, you've got when you're a high achiever, because high achievers can be like this too as well, eh? Or perhaps you've been hurt, that's me, or simply vigilant. Vigilant. There we go. That's me as well. Probably you too, Denise. You are on alert for gaps between expectation and reality. However, you're probably not in a hurry to accept the gaps. It seems counterintuitive to accept the gaps. You'd prefer to close them, get rid of them entirely. And then you go on to say, imagine a drop of water in a stream. The drop flows down the stream bed and bumps into a rock. The water accepts the rock is there and finds a way around it. If it can't find a way around the rock, it sits calmly in the space beside it. I really like this picture. I really did, actually, because, that is so true. Water doesn't resist the rocks. It'll find the gaps and fill them, or it'll move around it, and if it can't move around it, it'll just sit in a pool and wait until something happens to where movement happens. And, I thought... what happens in the gap for us, I guess? If we were that water, we will sit. If we're in peace, we'll sit. If we aren't resisting, we may not find that rock is such a problem, because we can wait, or we can find a way around it, or we can manage in another way to deal with rock in front of us.
Well, you think how ridiculous it seems to think of a drop of water getting mad at that rock in the stream. Like, it's just ridiculous. And yet, even if it came up to the rock and it's just stops before it and just starts getting cross with the rock, like, get out of my way. Like, water just doesn't do that. It is flexible and just goes where it can.
It's also persistent, I must say
it'll
that.
wear the rock away, I suppose, over time.
If you've got a drip happening on a rock over time, that will make an impact on the rock. It is very persistent.
This is not a blog about nagging, Maree.
Oh, okay. Oh, is that how you do it? Just drip by drop.
Drip.
Until that baby moves.
But, that's another angle that you could take. You could take the long game. But, I just love that picture of the still water. But I was also thinking about if you've got water that's sitting there, and of course when the rain comes and there's more water, then the water level rises and perhaps that drop of water can continue on. But when it's just sitting there for a long time, you do get that stagnant
yes, you do.
Water. So
it's not healthy.
No. So I am aware that there are limitations to my allegory, but I still think that just the lesson of being calm and just the thing is, if you've faced whatever's going on, that gap between your expectation and reality, you can now just deal with the situation. What I find is that it's when I got maddest with my kids was when we were just about to walk out the door and something would happen, and in my head We needed to be leaving now. And now something happens that I didn't expect, and that makes us late. And there's this wrestling that happens when that gap starts to happen. So if I'm just like, oh, okay, we're going to be late, I'll phone or text ahead to say, hey, we'll be a few minutes late, sorry. Well, then I've dealt with the situation, I can deal with this situation, and I can move forward peacefully. But if I'm like, come on! I mean, not that I ever did that. Of course I did that.
No, of course you did that. You did that so well, Denise. That wasn't practiced.
And sometimes I just got so angry. Why can't you kids just get in the car? And all of that was because I didn't want to accept this reality that had just happened. And so what happens is if you're getting into a car to go somewhere and you're late, you could become a dangerous driver because you're not giving way when you should give way, or you're not stopping at a stop sign because you should. You're creating a miserable environment for the people who are with you. And then you're so upset and flustered by the time you arrive wherever you're going that you can't just peacefully flow. Say there's a meeting that you're supposed to be in. You can't just walk in and join. You're just like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
You can almost feel it enter the room with you, eh?
Yeah.
And people will notice.
Yeah. So that's what it looks like when you are wrestling with the gap, when you haven't accepted it. All the drama happens. All the stress happens. It's when anger and frustration is bound to pop up its ugly head.
Yeah, this is something I think everyone can relate to. How much energy do we waste wishing that the rock wasn't there, wishing that we had, worked with that in a different way, responded in a different way? Because you're right, Denise, there's many times that I can think back where I've rushed to get somewhere, and everything I wanted to bring to the meeting before I rushed to get somewhere and was frazzled would just go out of my mind. I wasn't in that place of peace where I could now bring it because I wasn't peaceful in me. So I was already wound up. So the whole time of the meeting I was just trying to unwind and then never got to really share the things that I wanted to share because I was still in that frazzled place, So how much energy do we waste in those places of, when we're trying to get somewhere and control everything around us?
But even last week when I had this decision making going on, there were some really interesting conversations that went on, and they're not conversations that I would normally have, and they're not conversations I would normally welcome, to be honest. And yet, because that piece was so strong, I learnt some really valuable pieces of information relationship-wise that now I have those pieces of information which I didn't before. So I can tuck those away, I can work on those. And I was able to hear them because I was so peaceful. I wasn't trying to defend my position. I wasn't trying to argue my point. I just listened, and that was also not my normal response.
Yeah, I've had to learn to do this, and I'll continue to learn to do this because there's never a full stop at the end of our learning. Well, I've nailed that one, moving on to the next one, because it doesn't work like that. It's going to come up again in a different situation with different people, and you're going to have to go back to what you know about what you've learnt to try this out again. It never just happens the first time. I think you talk about this in your blog with the piano playing the piano.
Yes, so when I've got a really hard piece, nowadays I tend to play more just chords to go along, backing behind a song. But when I am learning an actual piece where both hands have particular jobs, sometimes I have to take a hand out because I'll get to this one bit and I just do it wrong every time. And I've probably, by the time I actually bother to stop and try and deal with it, I've probably played it 30 to 50 times wrong already, at least. And so now I'll take one hand out and I'll just play the other hand, and I'm just trying to get the notes right because I'm like, okay, I always play this, but what am I actually supposed to be playing? So I just figure out what are the accurate notes. But then once I've got the accurate notes, that's not enough. Now I need to be able to play them in time, but sometimes it's quite a quick blah, 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 and you're just like, ah. So you've got to slow that down.
Okay, we're doodling here.
So once I can play it correctly with the right notes in time slowly, then I'll gradually increase it. And so now I might be able to play that bit at the right speed, but I've still only got one hand. So now I've got to add the other hand in. So for that to happen, I'm going to have to slow it down again. I can't just like go with both hands straight away. And each step, so sometimes by the time I get that accurate, I've played it another 20, 30, 50 times. And now I've played it wrong a good number of times. Now I kind of have to rewrite the way that my fingers are thinking when they come to that. I need to play it accurately enough times that I've got the new pattern established. So if I do this, it's quite a long process, but it sounds so good every time from then because now I've got it. But sometimes I don't put the time in. Sometimes I don't go through it that long, or I don't do it as many times accurately as my fingers actually need. So now every time I come to that bit, I'm like 50-50 chance. I've now got a chance it might be right. But I got 50-50 chances, gonna crash.
I think that's how I approach things, Denise. 50-50 chance here that the old me's going to come out, or the one that I've been working on and developing is going to show herself and present a different case here. And I love what you're talking about there, because what you're talking about is that you got it wrong so many times, but in the times that you got it wrong, there was the recognising of yourself getting it wrong and the desire to keep practicing until you're able to play the tune you wanted to tune. And that's not an easy process. Many of us give up in the getting it wrong all the time. We just get frustrated, we throw the instrument down, or whatever it is we're doing, we're just like, no, it's too hard, I can't do this.
But there are very real constraints, like sometimes it's a time constraint. Maybe you've got half an hour to practice and you actually need to get it right. You need an hour, but you don't have that long. And so that's why I came up with the practice makes progress, because depending on how much time, maybe you've only had a chance to play that one hand just to get the notes sorted out in your head. You haven't even got it in time yet, but that's progress.
Yep.
And when you're looking at your situation, rather than looking at all the, I still got to get it in time, I still got to add my other hand, I still have to speed it up, I still have to this, I still have to that. I think maybe sometimes it's a good idea for us to just look and go, well, now I know what the notes are.
Exactly.
Yay me.
So you're allowed to encourage yourself and celebrate the small steps, because we tend to believe emotional growth happens through one big breakthrough. And we do. We can get suckered into that, like, got it right, and there we go. It's a breakthrough. But more often it happens through hundreds of tiny decisions made differently, or small steps. Small changes, repeated consistently, create lasting transformation. And that's what we're looking for, is, we're looking for that point of difference. I'm not where I used to be. I'm not quite where I want to be. I'm somewhere in between. And sometimes the in-between, it's those gaps that we can give up. And go, this is too hard, or I'm going to lose me, or I'm going to lose something, or,
Well, you think of the reality of dealing with something. If it's in a relationship, it's not really a fair assumption to think that you could do something over and over and over and over and over with a person, like right now. Let's just have this out. Oh, sorry, got that wrong. Let me do it again. Oh. Like, that's actually going to have time lapse in between. It's more like, so I've got these Christmas carol, some fancy ways of playing Christmas carols, and I pull them out near the end of each year, and I love to play them, but usually I play them just enough by Christmas that I've almost got them right, and then I put them away again for another 10 months, 11 months, and so I'm sort of back at square one. And I think that too, unless you're being really intentional about working on something, sometimes you can make progress, but then it's quite a while before that thing comes up again and you're a little bit rusty on the progress that you made last time.
Absolutely.
That's so normal.
Yeah, and to be content in the normalness. I was going to bring in something that Paul wrote in the Bible from Philippians chapter 4, verse 11 to 13. It says, "I have learned to be content, whatever the circumstances." And I've underlined "I learned." Because this is a great writer in the Bible. Paul was an incredible human being, great story behind who he became, who he was, and who he became.
Yeah,
quite a journey in that. And yeah, the fact that he's written, "I have learned to be content." We could put peaceful. You could put another word in there that
Well, that accepting the gap. I've learned to accept the gap.
Yeah.
Being content. I've learned to accept. I've learned to be peaceful.
And, but in the learning, I mean, we cast over words very easily, and I learned. There's a journey in that word. Mm-hmm. There's years in that word. We say it so briefly and so quickly. I learned. Well, it's my hat's off to you for wanting to learn. to be brave enough to start the journey.
And when you learn, it's interesting actually that you bring up that word learn, because when we were in Pastor's Corner before, you were talking about don't be wise in your own eyes. And the thought that came to me was, when you're learning something, when you first learn, you're just like, wow, this is so interesting. So you read a whole lot more on whatever it was that interests you. And now what they call it is, you know enough to be dangerous, because you think you know it all because you've read into this thing that interests you. But actually there's a whole lot of other opinions and probably other things that, if you could take that into consideration, then this would shift it. Or if you take that into consideration, it would be a little bit different. But you don't know those things. And so you just gung-ho, I'm going to change the world with the little bit that you do know.
Yeah.
And it can be dangerous, because if you're wise in your own eyes, because if you think you know it all, then you can be destructive. It takes that hearing other people's opinions, hearing other people's advice, looking at it from a different perspective. And it's once you've read, say if you're learning, you've read or heard or learned all those other angles as well, now you're in a position that you can start to form your own opinion, because now considering all of those things, this is how I read it, this is how I think it is. And so now there's a little bit of wisdom behind it. And with that learning, it can take time, and it can take, you might have a breakthrough in one relationship because you did things a certain way, but then you're talking with your colleague at work, and for them it's completely different. So what works for one person is not going to work for every person, because all of us are different. So it's a journey.
Always a journey. It's a catchphrase on Faith Matters. You heard it here. It's a journey. Life is a journey. And look, I'm not so interested. Well, I'm very interested in the destination once I get there, but the destination isn't what I think about, Denise.
Oh, see, I'm all destination.
No, I'm thinking about the journey that it takes to get to, because that's where I'm living. That's where I'm alive. That's where I get to make choices. It's where I get to develop. It's where I get to change, mould things that weren't mouldable before. And I have learned to enjoy that process.
Right.
But it has been a learned...
still on the journey on that one.
I'm still... so am I. I mean, there's going to be things that come up and I'm like, oh, really? Well, they don't hit me so hard these days, Denise, because I do sit in that peace that we've talked about. And, peace is something we practice, not simply something we wait for. And that's an interesting one, to practice peace. How can I keep my peace in this difficult situation? So as a Christian, we often call on God in those places to look for that peace that surpasses all understanding. And that's a biblical phrase. We know what that means, because in a moment you can have a peace that surpasses all understanding. It makes no sense in this place that I should feel peaceful. And I'm pleased to say I'm far more in those places these days than I've ever been.
Yeah.
But also peace can be practiced as in our humanness and who we are as individuals. We can practice to be peaceful, to how do I keep myself in me, not explode into pieces and shout and do things that I didn't want to do in that moment. How do I retain this? Yeah.
That's why I think that word accept the gap. I think you ask, how can you be peaceful? Now, for me, if someone told me 10, 15, 20 years ago that I needed to accept another perspective, or I needed to accept this thing that had happened that was not my ideal, I would really struggle with that. So I think there's probably people listening who are going, whatever. You say accept the gap. No, the gap is a bad thing. This is what I needed to happen, but this is what actually happened. That's not okay.
I can talk into the not okay.
Good.
Because I've had many things in my life that are just, that's not okay. That would have taken others out, It's not okay that this happened. It's not okay at all. Certain situations. And in that time frame of my life, I was living out of it's not okay. I was living out of fear, and I was living out of control because of the not okay. Yeah. So there's a lot of learning in that, because often that's where people tap out, is in the it's not okay time. And they tap out and, start to do things that are really unhealthy or not beneficial for their life.
Yeah.
Again, bringing God into that place, it's an incredible thing to do, because his picture isn't our picture. He sees so much more than what we see in the moment that we see it. He sees the complete picture. So there's real wisdom in that connection with our Creator, because that peace that I've talked about that surpasses all understanding, that's where I found that worked in my life. That wasn't something I practiced for myself. It was when I found a peace in amongst the ugliness of life, where my relationship with God grew.
Yeah, well, I think that links back again with what you guys were talking about in Pastor's Corner about that awe, because I talked before about mind the gap. When your focus is on the gap and you're completely freaking out that you could fall down there or you could drop something, that's all you can see.
Absolutely.
And yet when you're in awe, when you take a moment and you step back thinking about what it's like when you look up at the stars and you're just like, wow, it puts you in
those
perspective.
Moments. Yeah.
So if you think of that, if you have that kind of a moment, whether it's in looking at nature in awe, or whether it's actually looking at God in awe and going, wow, you are a God of peace. Like, how is that even possible? When you focus there and your eyes get off that thing that you've been obsessing over, that's when there's now space for something else to flow into that area. You're creating space for that water to just kind of bubble and pool in there.
Yeah.
And now, as things happen, that water might be able to move on. But before, when you just, this is my space, I've got to hold this space, and you won't accept that gap, it remains this massive hole. It remains this massive hollow. That's all you can think about.
Absolutely. The fear sits there and it will increase, and then you'll do everything to protect your life around that gap. Avoid at all costs.
I almost put that on, because I do each week. I try and do a couple of Facebook, like a picture or something, and just put a little quote from the blog in it. This week I was almost like, avoid at all costs.
That's one of my catchphrases there. Avoid at all costs. Backpedaling, poop, poop, poop. I mean, that was my motto in life. Avoid. Like one of those little robots. Yeah, avoid.
But that's why I put that thing about high achievers. I come from that world, and I had very high expectations and they were unreasonable. And then talking about the people who are really vigilant because they have hurt and now they know they will spot that gap a mile away. They're just like, hang on, that, this is what needs to happen, but this is the reality. And so they can obsess on the gap. And so just an encouragement to lift your eyes, let the gap be. I don't even say that it's accepting the gap doesn't mean that you say it's okay. It doesn't mean that it turns it into a good thing, but it just acknowledges that it's there.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. We can acknowledge the gap, Denise, and we can learn new things as we're doing that. You have been tuning in to Maree and Denise on Becoming Unoffendable on Faith Matters today. If you have joined us, we are so pleased to have you listening, and maybe some of the things that we've talked about will give you some food for thought to unpack in your own life, and that's what it's all about. We definitely do not have the answers, and this is live radio. We will make mistakes. So just get used to it. Live in the gap.
Wow. I feel like that's a precursor for something really majorly going wrong. What are you going to do?
Well, I'm just going to be cautious, that's all. I mean, I'll put a little cautious sign by the gap. Or maybe I'll be the water that just flows around that rock. I'm good with it.
Sounds good. Just the very last paragraph of the blog this week. If it's a small change, it's still change. If you notice one positive difference, celebrate it. If you feel like you're going backwards, check out if that's because you've mastered a portion and now you're adding complexity. None of us is perfect, but we can all make progress.
There we go. And like I said, if you want to tune into Denise's blogs, you can find her on Facebook, denise.nz. Head over to her website and you will find all her words of wisdom or things to unpack or look at or discussions right there for your reading pleasure.
You've been listening to a Faith Matters podcast. If you have questions, email us on faithmatters98.1fm@gmail.com.